Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Sadhana, and welcome to my channel. Welcome to Tarot Combos number 23. I have had a request to find some pairs for the Way Home Tarot, which is in the center. And I thought today I would start a little differently and discuss my process in finding deck pairs, deck combos. The Way Home Tarot, when I think of it, I think of the line art. I think of the degree of white space. And so as I was pulling out decks this afternoon, I was looking for complementary decks. Some of these are tarot, some of these are oracle. But I think all of the decks that I have here on the table complement the Way Home in the center. Even the cards that fill out the art right to the edge, I mean, there are borders on this deck, but right to the edge of the art, like in the Sun card, there is a simplicity to them. There is, the energy doesn't want to be overwhelmed. That's one of the things for sure. And so I think any of the Wild Unknown decks are going to bring forth some energy with this deck here. So I could also have pulled out the Wild Unknown Animal Oracle. I think that is also going to look nice with this deck. We need to be careful though, because this deck does have a sense of a real contemporary feel to it. And the deck that I'm pairing with it, I want that energy to be matched as well too. There is a lot of environment, natural environment, especially of course in the suit of Pentacles. So I want that energy to be matched in the surrounding decks as well too. So one of the first decks that came to mind when I was thinking of doing this exercise were, I mean, I've had the Telluric out for a while because I'm looking for more ways to work with this. This is a deck that I haven't necessarily used as a tarot deck by itself, and I'm going to be doing a combo with this deck and the Naked Heart over here because there is a crystal component that is built into this deck as well too. So I'm going to do some combos with this one. But also because of the natural element in this deck, I think there's something really interesting to be said with this combination. The Way Home Tarot is a very practical deck. It's very much in this world. And I think that the Telluric Tarot is going to bring a little bit of magic. I should show you some of these other cards here. Oh, such a beautiful card with the beats to this deck. I also believe with the Herb Crafters Tarot that this is going to be a really beautiful combo. And so I'm speaking of the Telluric now as working with it as an oracle deck, potentially. So couple of different thoughts, and using the Wild Unknown Animal Oracle with this one as well too would work beautifully. Over on the far left is the Star Spinner Tarot, which also is line art. I don't want to create too much shadow here. And so the line art in the Star Spinner, even though there's more color and most cards are completely, most if not all cards are completely filled out, I think you will find that, for example, the Wild Unknown Archetypes is going to look amazing with this deck. Over here is the Connected and Free, the Alchemist's Oracle, and I would use this deck, I believe, with most of the ones on the table here. I think it's going to work really well. For a similar reason, there is a significant amount of white space. The line art or the style of the card, the style of the art matches a lot of the cards that are on the table. And so this is the process that I go through when I am trying to find pairs and work with different decks. So what I would encourage you to do before we do some actual combos is to pull out a few decks that have this kind of line art with a moderate or a minimal amount of color, and see if they are going to work with the Way Home Tarot or any of the other tarot decks on the table. Let's begin with the Way Home and the Wild Unknown Archetypes. I've really been enjoying working with this deck, and I found that the level of the depth of this deck is really quite profound. And whether you are working with the archetype that is labeled on the deck or something within the image, I found that there's always something to pull from these cards. And even pulling them singly and contemplating on with them over a period of a couple of days or even longer is really quite profound. Look at the energy in the Two of Wands and how we see the movement of the top wand. I'm not sure this is something I've ever noticed before, but because I'm looking at this from the side and I can see these concentric circles, and whether you're looking at this pearl at a depth or at the top of a pyramid, or however, not necessarily, not a pyramid, but a cone, at the top of a cone, or whether you see this as two-dimensional space, there's something about these lines and the energy of these lines and this energy of the movement of the wand over here. Something really crazy. And the clouds. So we have smoke. There is a spark right here where the two wands are connecting, and something is ready to come ablaze. And how profound that we happen to choose the seed card from the archetype deck, from this large pile of cards, and the Two of Wands. So the querent here obviously is ready to step forward. And every time I do this, even though I do not have a question, I'm not working with anybody with readings right now, somehow when the Oracle deck and the Tarot deck are connecting with each other, the cards seem to bring something really magical forth. Now there's going to be a bit of shadow on the cards on the right because this deck is so high. I can move it out of the way, I suppose. There we go. And so we have the Ten of Cups, the Two of Wands moving towards the Ten of Cups. So the first thing that comes to me is this is a really big leap, a big step from the 2 to the 10. So what that might say to me is that the journey is not going to be a quick one. The journey might take a little bit longer, but you are definitely on the way. The seed has been planted, and I would go for whatever it is that you're feeling. It's definitely right there. So don't lose the momentum. So a super, super encouraging reading. I'm going to keep the pile over here just because of the shadow from the height of the deck. The next card is the Storm. So let's just have a look at that for a moment and see what that brings up for you, for me. Lots of color. There is potentially lightning coming down. Now you may not see that as lightning. It could simply be a divide. And within the busyness of the art in the storm, you could pick up on all kinds of different colors or aspects of the challenge of the storm or the energy of the painting itself. So what does the storm represent for you? Is it more like a tower energy? Is it something that's welcoming? Is it not welcoming? And we need to kind of speak to that in relationship to the question. Ooh, so we have the Devil card. And look at the colors in the background of the Devil and the colors over here in the storm. So color, we can read a lot into color, and I would definitely allow that to come forth. There's a lot of color on the left of the Storm card, and it looks a lot more black over on the right side of the Lightning. So I wonder if that will be represented here or not. So the storm, perhaps we have to pass through the energy. From the energy of the Devil, we have to pass through the storm to pass through the portal of the Three of Wands. I see this as a really beautiful way to tell a sequential story, and sometimes in a reading that can be really helpful to take the journey, to be on the process with the querent step by step along the way. So perhaps in the question, there was some kind of a compulsive behavior or a relationship, a challenge with a relationship that was revealed. And so the answer here is to weather the storm, to be in the storm, because the storm is part of the journey. And in order to move forward, we have to actually experience the challenges, and we cannot race through those. So kind of a nice combination there. The fault line. So the fault line. So as you look at the fault line, think about what that represents for you. If you live somewhere where you experience fault lines, that will be completely different than someone who doesn't. Somebody might go right to the word fault and be attached to the word fault. It might simply represent a crack or a divide. And while the guidebook is beautifully written, I think it's important to allow yourself to feel the energy of the oracle card. And sometimes I read the tarot cards first, and sometimes I read the oracle cards first, but it really depends on, I don't know, it's very spontaneous. So we have the Ace of Pentacles and the Two of Pentacles. So we have, again, a sequence. And the Ace is on one side of the fault line, and the Two is on the other side of the fault line. So how are we going to get from A to B? And we may or may not be able to cross over the fault line. It might be too dangerous. And so this is a beautiful example of when I would probably move away from the traditional meaning of the tarot cards and begin to weave in a story. Let's move on to the Connected and Free, the Alchemist's Oracle by Lauren Aletta. Beautiful artwork by Tegan Sweeney. This is one of my favorite cards as well too. There's something about this deck, and I carry it around with me all the time. I find it just connects so beautifully with so many different tarot decks, oracle decks. It also reads well on its own. The energy of healing. We have all of the beautiful colors up at the top coming out of the cup. And on the teacup itself, there is this kind of magical lace or network, spider web, however you want to see it. And you may not even see that in a particular reading. It might just be about time for tea, time for a cup of coffee, time for connection. And I find, much like the previous deck, there's a lot that can be pulled from this oracle. The clean lines and the clean space really does help with a deck like the Way Home. And so we have the Mother of Wands and the Six of Cups. Okay. So there may be something about relationship with mother and children. There might be troubles with the past and family and home. And this is a real invitation to be brave enough to step out and to heal past relationships. I love in the Mother of Wands, in the Way Home Tarot, that we can see a medicine woman. At least that's what I see. I see a medicine woman in the body of the Mother of Wands. We can see the wings of an owl on her dress. Sorry, Amber's right underneath me, and she's upset by a fly. So this is a really quite a profound combination. Wow. Family. So there's a theme emerging here, the way the cards were shuffled. Family. And we can look into the messages in the stars. We can talk about connection. This is also a nighttime card. So rather than focusing on the keyword itself, there might be something about the nighttime that emerges in the reading, or the stars. And I could imagine the star card coming up. We could be talking about cleansing. This also might represent just energy itself. And so when I'm working with an oracle deck, it's important to allow the artwork to speak. Same with the tarot deck. Sometimes I abandon traditional meanings altogether. And when I saw the Three of Pentacles appear over on the left, What came up for me was the lines from the anthill and the network of lines in the anthill, and then all of the lines that we can see, the lines of energy and the lines of light in the family card. So it's a reminder of connection. We have 3 of Pentacles on the left, 9 of Pentacles on the right, lots of 3s here, sacred numbers, earth, family, and connection. So there's an importance here about family, about perhaps going home, being home, the value of family, family business, the prosperity of family business, the importance of connection with the family home. And it's just kind of a tremendous, the colors aren't particularly, and the art style doesn't particularly jive here, but the message and the energy of the deck certainly does. And let's do a couple more. I've had this card a few times lately. The key word is think with your heart. And very different messages have come up with this card. So depending on the tarot reading. And so rather thinking with your head, think with your heart. We have on the candle in the background, we have a lotus. And there's a lot of energy and movement in the background, which actually matches the backs of this deck beautifully, Judgment. So there's a sense of emergence. I see the energy of the Judgment card, the light moving from bottom to top, as well as in the Oracle card in the center, the light and the energy moving from bottom to top. Something is shifting, something is coming forth, something is being revealed, and that just might be a shift in your own perspective if you're able to think with your heart. And notice how the light, the flames on the right, match or mirror the candle in the center, as well as the light over on the far left. And with the 9 of Wands in the way home, if you're not familiar or you have never done this kind of releasing of the lanterns, it's such a beautiful, beautiful offering. And I feel this is a profound permission to let go and to move to a higher place. Next is the Naked Heart Tarot on the outside, and in the center is the Telluric Tarot. And this is a combination that intuitively makes so much sense to me, because the energy of the crystal energy is just built right into the Naked Heart Tarot, as well as the natural elements, the animal energy in this deck. And so these two decks speak a very, very similar language, and I feel like there's a respect between the two decks, and it just makes sense that they would work easily and well together. So here we have the monkey, the 9 of Wands, fire energy, and fire energy. When I think of nasturtiums, I think of their peppery flavor and how that peppery flavor enhances a salad. So 14 is like the king of fire, the king of wands. And we need to be careful here of excessive fire. We also have a very strong, flamey red gem in the center. And let's see what's going on over here. Ooh, so this reading may very well caution on the side of excessive fire. So excessive fire might just be too not the right way to go, or it may be kind of a warning. Depending on the question too, it might be exactly what you need to step into. Perhaps this is representing an upcoming meeting or an upcoming gathering. And so in order to prepare for that, you're really going to have to collect your wands and collect your energy and step into it with as much fire as possible. I mean, there's so many different ways you could interpret this, but really look to energy in these two decks. And you really can't go wrong when you do that. Here is the... Okay, so very different flavor here. we have a 9, we have emerald and rose. And so what do you associate with the rose, and what do you associate with emerald? And so if we go to the energy of the heart, where we have green on one hand, and then we have pink on the other. So pink representing unconditional love, green representing perhaps the grief that needs to be gone through. Notice that this emerald is also broken. So we have the energy perhaps of a broken heart in the center as one possible interpretation. And then alternatively, we can look to the richness of the garden, the beauty of the garden, the prized gem in the center, the emerald, also the natural green color of the emerald in the center. And so depending on which way you want to go, there's a few different messages you could derive from this 9 of water here. And I have found that the strength in the Telluric tarot is allowing the plants and the gems to tell their own story, and to really take your time with the images and with the color. Now, if you notice here, we also have a broken gem in this deck. And so here we have the emerald that's broken here, and we also have a broken gem here. So I think that's pretty important. We also have a mirror here of these 5 pentacles and the 5 roses around here. So that's pretty profound. And the temperance card over on the left may be the way through this difficult time. It may be the medicine, it may be the reason for, depending on how the particular question was worded. But I think this is really quite incredible that we have these 5 symbols matching on both cards, and in both we have the broken gem. Also look here to the thorns on the roses. You could also bring something in about that, and this black pearl necklace, which is broken. There's this black strand of pearls that is broken. So it's pretty, I don't know, it's incredible. You can look to the balance over here. We have the fire and the water. This is, so we have fire and water on this side of this card. This is a water card. This is Pentacles. This is an earth card. So overall, quite a balanced reading, but you might be able to bring in something of the elements depending on how the querent worded the question. Chalcedony and sandalwood. So just take a moment to look at the colors. Scan your memory about any experiences with Chalcedony. This piece of Chalcedony also to me looks like a bunch of grapes. And I would allow anything that wants to come forth to come forth. What do you know about sandalwood? Is sandalwood your favorite incense? Is it something that's available where you live? If you want to go to the number 10 and really dig into the tarot meaning of the card, that might also be really important for you. There's definitely a richness in this combination of Chalcedony and the sandalwood. 6 of Wands. So I'm feeling almost like the card in the center is the reward of the hard work. Element of fire, element of earth, and the Naked Heart. So this is the extra card in this deck. This feels a bit like a card of blessing, and a card to take pause and to celebrate and to pat yourself on the back and to really recognize all that you have done. You've worked really, really hard through the process. And this is such a beautiful balanced card. And I love also just the title of the card, The Naked Heart. It reveals your vulnerability. Like, it took a lot to get through where you are, and now because of that you have the abundance of the Chalcedony and the sandalwood. Its sacredness as well too. It's such a special fragrance, as I was mentioning, as incense. Magnolia. So what do you think of when you smell magnolias or you see magnolias? Is there a particular association? Like for me also, there's a sense of antique. There's an antique flavor to magnolias. And I feel the essence of my grandmother, older gardens, English gardens. Do you have a relationship with diaspora? What about the general sense of color in that card? Like to me, it feels like grandma. And here we have the 13th card in the Suit of Cups. Something quite incredible just happened. Another deck revealed itself as I walked over to change the batteries. So I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. Here we have the Six of Swords. Love the energy on that turtle. The rainbow energy around the, just above what I imagine is the heart space, radiating across the turtle. Definitely movement forward. And so this to me feels like comfort. And let's see what we have going on here. The sun. So though they're, with the Six of Swords, you need to remember you have come from the Five of Swords potentially. And moving forward might not be exactly where you want to go, nor may you know where you are going. But because of the two cards on the right of that, it feels like you will be protected, whether that is from Mother or whether that is from the universe herself. You're going to be well looked after. There's a couple other things I absolutely love in this combination. One is how the direction in the Six of Swords is moving this way, and it is mirrored in the Sun card as well too. So it feels like, yes, you definitely should be moving on and moving forward. It is in your highest interest. And not only are you being supported by Mother, you're also being supported by Father. So you're being supported in a very, very balanced way. So this is definitely a big yes. The deck I spied as I walked across the room to change the battery a few moments ago was the Pholarchos Tarot. And I spied a card that had strong lines and lots of white space. And I thought, yes, this deck is also going to pair beautifully with several of the decks I have on the table. And also, interestingly, this is a deck strong in the earth element, having crystals and plants, whereas the Pholarchos is based in the dream world. And so naturally, these two decks are going to bring something out that they wouldn't alone. So let's just have a look at a couple of combinations with the Telluric and Pholarchos. Anhydrite and anemone. There's a fragility to me in an anemone. This is the 5 in the Suit of Water. And I'm just going to read, let me get the guidebook. I know there's something really beautiful here about anemone. Anemone is associated with sadness and regret, said to have sprouted from Aphrodite's tears, that's what it was, over the loss of her beautiful lover Adonis. And I know there's a connection with the anhydrite and gypsum. So if you like pieces of selenite, so there's also a connection with water here. So let's see what we have as far as water and relationship and emotion on either side of this card. We have the 3 of Wings, which is 3 of air, often associated with sadness and letting go. So we have the 3 of air, we have the 5 of water and strength. And while the artwork may not look particularly cohesive in this combination, the message certainly is. And I love that the strength card is looking straight into this 5 of anhydrite and anemone, and giving courage and strength to the experience of the 3 of Wings. And in the Pholarchos, if you look to that 3 of Wings, there is really a sense of letting go. If you look at the body that's rising up and out of the one that's down on the bottom, and then there's a real sense of freedom up here with the trapeze artist. It's quite a unique 3 of Wings. So there really is a beautiful sense of letting go in this reading and finding the inner strength to do so. Let's just do one more. Cinnabar and blackthorn. Ten of spirals. This is the card actually that was looking at me when I walked across the room. So spirals is the suit of earth. And while the card in the center is the 5 of air, I feel a strong sense of connection or disassociation or imbalance with the root chakra, simply based on the energy of the crystal in the center. There's also a strong medicinal pull to that particular plant. And so 5 of air is in the center, 10 of spirals over on the right. So in this deck, this is the fulfillment with the full color of the spirals. So the end of quite a journey, and a card of conflict in the center. And then over on the left is the Queen of Spirals. So the medicine of the challenge of the 5 in the center is through the suit of earth. And that's really kind of beautiful and interesting and contradictory, because we're getting the earthiness from the dream deck and we're getting the airiness from the earthy deck, if I said that right. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. There's a beautiful sense of the mirroring also too of the red in the center here, reflected in the earthiness of the Queen of Spirals over on the right. Just that subtle connection of color. So I think this is going to work just beautifully together to help bring in, because sometimes I find with the Falarcos Tarot, we are so much in the dream world that a deck is needed to kind of pull you down. And in the previous reading, we got this kind of opposite energy. Here we have the Ace of Coral, so the Ace of Water, and over on this side, the 3 of Wands. The 5 here is the representing the Hierophant, and we can look to the wisdom of the oak tree. There's also some really beautiful sacred geometry happening here in the Storalight. Look here, we have this word, divine song. Again, a beauty of emergence coming through here. Passion, 3 of sparks, so 3 of fire. And here is the Ace of Coral. And this to me is almost looking like a marriage, a wedding. And so if this were a relationship question, this would be a really favorable kind of reading. And perhaps also there is a bit of a message here to trusting the inner wisdom, the inner light, the divine messages. Just I'm looking here at the divine, the fact that the eyes are covered in the Ace of Coral, and there's something really profound about all of the aces in this deck. So that was an unexpected little thing that came up. And I really encourage you to play with your decks in this way and just try them out. Sometimes it can be quite accidental how 2 decks end up on the table together, and just really trust in it. And the only way you're going to learn if decks work together is if you practice with them. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments below. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Stay well, my friends. Namaste.